A woman abruptly stopped her car near a dark, dirty alley, opened the back door, and with heartbreaking coldness pulled out an elderly dog. It wasn't just any dog. It was 15 years old, its white, matted fur betraying its age, and most painful of all, it only had 3 legs. Without looking back, she threw the old companion into the middle of garbage bags, as if that life, to which it had probably dedicated every second, was worth absolutely nothing. The animal, confused and frail, tried to get up to follow her, but its tired legs failed it. It simply watched her leave, believing in its canine innocence that she would return at any moment. 2 whole days passed, and that animal's loyalty was its greatest torture. It remained exactly where it was left, lying on a damp piece of cardboard, trembling with cold and hunger. People hurried past, averting their gaze, ignoring that living being who, at 15 years old, should have been on a warm carpet, not competing for space with society's discard. The lack of one of his paws made it impossible for him to leave alone to find food. He whimpered softly, almost voiceless, dehydration beginning to take its toll. It seemed that the end of that old warrior would be lonely and painful in that forgotten alley, a cruel testament to human indifference. But fate, my friends, sometimes acts in mysterious ways through the hands of those with pure hearts. At the end of that second afternoon, a mother named Clara was walking through the alley, holding the hand of her son, Lucas, a little boy of only 6 years old. They didn't have much money and were walking home to save on bus fare when Lucas's attentive eyes caught something moving in the middle of the garbage. "Mom, look!" shouted the boy, letting go of her hand and running towards the pile of black bags. Clara tried to stop him, fearing illness or danger, but the child's heartfelt cries at seeing the dog's condition paralyzed her. The scene was devastating. The dog, whom we'll call Grandpa for now, could barely lift his head. Lucas, with thick tears streaming down his face, stroked the animal's dirty head, which licked the boy's hand in gratitude. Clara knew they barely had enough food at home, but looking into the pleading eyes of that 3-legged animal and seeing her son's compassion, she had no choice. With great effort, she picked up the heavy, weakened dog, soiling her only work clothes, and decided to take him home. The walk was long and exhausting, but the weight in her arms seemed lighter seeing the hopeful smile on Lucas's face. Once home, reality hit. They cleaned the dog, gave him water, and shared the little rice and chicken they had. That's when they realized the gravity of the situation. The dog not only had 3 legs and advanced age. He had a serious wound at the base of his spine and whimpered in pain with every movement. Clara cried that night, hiding from her son. She knew that love and affection were essential, but they didn't cure infections or fractures. Without money for a veterinarian, she felt powerless. The next day, she decided to put him in an old shopping cart and take him to the neighborhood square, hoping someone could point them to an NGO or offer free help. While they were in the square, with Lucas fanning the dog to shoo away the flies, a very serious-looking man, wearing grease-stained overalls and carrying a toolbox, stopped and watched the scene. He had a closed face, full of wrinkles, and looked angry. Clara became apprehensive, pulling the cart closer to her. The man, named Augusto, approached slowly without saying a word, and crouched down in front of the dog. He examined the amputated paw, looked at the animal's worn teeth, and finally looked into Clara's eyes. "Why is this dog in this state?" he asked in a hoarse voice. Clara, stammering, explained the story of the alley, the abandonment, and the lack of money for treatment. To Clara and Lucas's complete surprise, Mr. Augusto's expression changed from stern to one of profound sadness mixed with determination. "Don't move. I live right across the street. I'll be right back," he said. 5 minutes later, he returned not with money, but with something unusual, a strange contraption made of PVC pipes, children's bicycle wheels, and padded fabric. Mr. Augusto wasn't just a grumpy old man. He was a retired engineer who spent his days creating inventions in his garage. "I saw this dog being thrown out," he confessed, his voice choked with emotion. "I tried to write down the car's license plate, but it sped away. I searched for it for 2 days, but I went down the wrong alley." "You found it." What happened next was the incredible thing that changed everything. Right there in the square, Mr. Augusto adapted that improvised, but ingeniously constructed wheelchair to the old dog's body. He used his knowledge to create a suspension system that protected the animal's injured spine. With a gentleness that belied his rough hands, he fitted the dog into the frame. The moment the animal's paws touched the ground with the support of the wheels, something magical happened. The dog, who seemed condemned never to walk again, took its first step. Then another. And suddenly it was running across the square, tongue hanging out, while Lucas ran alongside it, shouting with joy. But the story holds a final secret that will leave you speechless. As they watched the dog fly with its new wheels, Mr. Augusto took an old wallet from his pocket and showed Clara an old photo. In the photo was an identical dog, but younger, and a smiling woman. "That woman who abandoned the dog is my daughter," he revealed with tears in his eyes. "I gave her that dog 15 years ago when her mother passed away, so she wouldn't feel alone. I lost contact with her because of family arguments, and I never imagined she would become someone capable of doing this." The dog, in fact, was called Valente, and was the last living link Augusto had with his deceased wife. The end of this story is the definition of divine justice and a happy ending. Mr. Augusto, discovering that his beloved Valente had been saved by the kindness of poor strangers while his own daughter discarded him, made a drastic decision. Since he lived alone in a huge house and missed his family, he invited Clara and Lucas to live in the guest house on his property. He adopted the family that saved his wife's memory. Today, Valente receives physiotherapy, top-quality food, and most importantly, he runs around the garden with his special wheels, uniting a lonely grandfather and a fatherless boy, proving that what was once treated as trash was, in fact, the treasure that would save them all.